All right, let's talk about something that is pretty much every homeowner's worst nightmare, a major flood in your house. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the professional playbook for exactly what happens when disaster strikes. So, let me start by asking you a question. When you think about the most destructive thing that can happen to your home, what pops into your head? Fire, maybe? Some huge storm? Well, the real answer, it might actually surprise you.
The answer is water. Why? Because unlike a fire, its damage isn't always big, loud, and obvious. It's sneaky. It gets into places you can't see, creeping behind your walls, seeping under the floors, getting into the bones of your house. And it can cause rots and mold long after you think the problem is gone.
And that, right there, is the most important thing to understand about this whole topic. The second that water gets in, a clock starts ticking. You are in a desperate race against time, and literally every minute that passes, the damage and the cost to fix it gets worse. Okay, so let's really break down this threat, because a flood isn't just about cleaning up a big, wet mess. It is a truly destructive force. And in certain areas, the risk is way higher because of a perfect storm of environmental factors, and even the way our homes are built. So let's just take a place like Sammamish, Washington as an example. It's in this really moisture-heavy area where tons of rain soaks into clay soil, which then puts a huge amount of pressure on home foundations. Now add to that a bunch of homes built in the 90s with pipes that are getting old, big mature trees with roots that are looking for a way into your sewer lines. You even have ice dams in the winter. All of these things create this constant, underlying threat of water getting in where it shouldn't. So you have this threat kind of bubbling under the surface. Now let's look at how that can suddenly just explode into a full-blown crisis. Because that's how it almost always happens, all at once.
And you know what? It usually starts with just one single, seemingly small failure. One pipe gives out, one little hose on a washing machine breaks, one crack in the foundation. It seems so insignificant.
But that one burst pipe, it can unleash over 400 gallons of water inside your house every single hour. I mean, the sheer volume is just staggering. And it doesn't take long for it to completely overwhelm everything.
And that single point of failure can come from all kinds of places. Old supply lines are a massive culprit. So are appliances like water heaters or dishwashers that just fail without any warning. And then, of course, you've got the forces from outside. Your basement flooding because the ground is soaked, storm damage, and the absolute worst of them all, sewage backups.
So everything's chaos. Water is everywhere. But this is the turning point. The second a homeowner makes that call and the professionals show up, the pure chaos of the situation starts to turn into a calm, methodical, step-by-step process. And that process can really be broken down into 3 clear phases. First, it's the emergency response. Just get the water out. Second, it's the scientific process of actually drying out the structure of your home. And third, the final step, putting it all back together again.
Phase 1 is an all-out sprint. It's 100% about speed and power. We're talking truck-mounted extraction systems, powerful pumps, getting thousands of gallons of standing water out of there before it has a chance to soak deeper into the drywall, the subfloors, and the framing. You have got to stop that clock. Okay, now let's get into the really cool part, the science that actually drives this entire process. You know, this isn't just guesswork. It's a whole field of study with industry standards set by groups like the IICRC. And it's all based on the science of how buildings are made and, believe it or not, microbiology. So the first thing the pros do is figure out what kind of water they're dealing with. Category 1, that's clean water, say from a broken supply line. Category 2, or gray water, has some gunk in it, maybe from an overflowing washing machine. But Category 3, black water, that's the really dangerous stuff. It's from sewage or ground flooding, and it's full of pathogens, so it needs totally different safety rules. They also have to classify how severe the damage is. So classes 1 and 2 might be a small leak or just one wet room, but classes 3 and 4, now you're talking deep saturation, like water pouring down from a ceiling, or water soaked into really dense stuff like concrete or hardwood that's incredibly tough to dry. And that classification changes the entire game plan. And to put that game plan into action, they bring in this amazing high-tech toolkit. This isn't just a couple of fans and a shop vac. I mean, we're talking about thermal imaging cameras that can literally see temperature differences behind walls to find hidden pockets of water.
and calibrated moisture meters that give an exact percentage of water content in wood. They're finding moisture that is completely invisible to you and me. So all this technology, all this work, it's all driving towards one single critical goal: reaching what's known in the industry as the dry standard. This isn't about something just feeling dry. It is a specific, scientifically proven moisture level that every single material has to reach, getting the wood framing below 16% moisture, for example. Hitting that standard is the only way to guarantee you won't get mold or structural problems down the road. And you gotta know, hitting that standard takes time. If you look at this timeline, after that first crazy day of getting the water out, the real structural drying phase takes anywhere from 3 to 7 days. The pros are there every single day, taking readings, adjusting these huge commercial dehumidifiers and air movers, basically creating a controlled drying vortex inside your house. It's a marathon, for sure. And that brings us to the final act. Once the entire structure is scientifically proven to be dry, the job switches from damage control to resolution, basically putting your home back together again. You know, a massive part of this phase is handling the insurance claim, which can be a total nightmare, but the pros take care of it. They talk directly to your insurance company, they give them all the paperwork they need, photos, those moisture maps, the daily drying logs, and they build the repair estimate using the same software the insurance adjusters use. It just smooths out the whole process and helps make sure your claim gets approved. And then, at last, the reconstruction begins. This is everything from putting up new drywall and insulation to laying down new floors and painting. And the goal here is actually pretty simple, but it takes a lot of skill. Make the house look exactly like it did before the flood. So good that the repairs just blend in and you'd never, ever know a disaster even happened. Which really brings us right back to where we started. If you take away just one thing from this whole professional playbook, let it be this: speed saves structures. From the moment that water gets in, that clock is ticking. And all the science, all the technology, all the processes, they're all designed for one single purpose: to win that race against time.